What's up, guys? My name is Nick Seabet, coming to you from sunny Austin, Texas, where I've been residing, playing full-time poker for the last 2 years. Did take a break during Corona, of course, like everyone else did, but I was back shortly after that, and poker has not skipped a beat down here. This will be my first vlog ever recorded, so be a little patient with me. There are some really big pots and big hands where I don't lift the camera up off the table and kind of show the action. This vlog was recorded at what I thought was in the middle of a huge downswing, but the second I hit record, that all changed. But I honestly went into it thinking like, well, if I'm going to lose everything on this massive downswing where I just could not win, I might as well record it and entertain some people. And so I hit the record button. I was having fun, even though I was running really, really bad. And like I said, I hit the record button and things turned around. So we had a really good session here. We were playing 1-2 at the Lodge. It's in Round Rock, Texas, a little north of Austin. If you're familiar with Texas poker, the 1-2 plays very much like a 2-5. We do get into some 1-3s later on. I have about 15 episodes filmed already. The 1-3s play like a 5-10 in Vegas. Like they say, everything is bigger in Texas, and they do not exclude poker in that statement. If you are familiar with the poker scene right now, you know that Texas is the epicenter and where all the action is at. So let's dive into some hands, and here we go. First hand to kick things off, and we are under the gun +1, and we get dealt 5-6 apart. Being that I know these opponents so well, it's a solid raising hand to balance out early position raises. I'm not going to do this often, but occasionally the 5-6 of hearts is definitely a candidate, so we pull the trigger here. We're rarely going to face 3-bet aggression from this field, so we opt for a larger raise of $16. These games play much bigger here in Texas, so a $15 to $25 open at 1-2 is extremely common and is the status quo. We get the cutoff and button to come along, and we see a flop of ace, 6, 5, rainbow. We have a hidden 2-pair here and unblock any ace from continuing, so I lead out for $30. The cutoff folds and the button makes the call. The turn brings a jack of diamonds. This is not the card we want to see, as ace-jack definitely gets there and beats our bottom two, but being that we raise from early position, we're still representing a strong ace here. So we barrel again for $65, but unfortunately for us, the button makes the fold. But we pull in a nice little pot to start the session off right. Next hand, we are in the small blind with king 6 of clubs. There are 3 limpers, so I just complete the blind, and big blind checks it through. Flop comes king 3, 9, rainbow. I check, big blind checks, middle position bets $15. Cutoff calls and I call. Going multi-way to the turn, the dealer puts down a beautiful 6 of diamonds, giving us 2-pair and bringing in the second diamond on the board. I opt to lead out here, hoping to get value from flush draws and gut shots, as these players would definitely call here with any of those type of holdings. Even though king 9 will be in their limping ranges and would beat out our 2-pair, we don't live in fear and we make it $25. Unfortunately, no one wants to keep putting quarters in the machine, so we get the high score in a decent pot. Just a few hands later, and we look down at king jack offsuit in the cutoff. Under the gun 1 limps and it folds around to me. I raise it up to $10. It folds around to the big blind, who is a gambler with $65 behind, and he pushes his entire stack forward for an all-in. There are definitely better spots than this, but this guy will do this with a massive range, and sometimes will just flip over 7-5 suited and say he was just gambling. With that in mind, we do opt to call it off, and we do see a flop that brings no good news, as it comes queen 6, 3. The turn is an ace, thinking at this point we're probably not good, as the river comes with 0 help, as another 3 hits the board. He flips his hand over, showing king jack offsuit as well, and we end up splitting the pot. What a waste of time for everyone. We look down at king jack offsuit, this time in the hijack and facing 3 limpers who are loose passive players. So I size up a raise to 20 ducks to see if we can squeeze some value from wide ranges who don't like to fold and won't put me in any extremely difficult positions post flop. We go 4 ways to the flop, which comes king, 10, 8 with 2 hearts. Big blind checks, and under the gun 1, a player who I know extremely well, leads out for $75. This is a man who is capable of doing this with marginal top pairs, and he nutted draw in all of his sets. After he bets, he is sitting with 250 behind, so I just flat, hoping to get it in if we peel some bricks. The low jack also happens to come along for the ride, which adds some dead money if we do peel some bricks, as he is the type of player who will raise any premium hand here trying to deny equity from any draws. The turn comes the 2 of clubs, and under the gun just jams his remaining stack for roughly 250 bucks. There's a good chance I'm behind here, but for some reason I think I'm good and I'm feeling sticky. I tank for a brief moment, probably not long enough to talk some sense into myself, and I opt to make the call. The low jack folds and the river comes at second 10. This card unknowingly saves us by pairing the board. Thinking I was still good there, I turn my hand over first and show 2 pairs, kings and 10s with a jack kicker, and he shows kings and 10s with an 8 kicker. He actually flopped 2 pair and had me crushed until the river. I shrug it off and accept my booty. Lady Luck had her back on this one, and we very luckily scooped up a nice pot. But let's keep up the momentum and maybe slow down on not overvaluing top pair and see if we can keep raking in some pots. We're now sitting in under the gun +1, and we look down at 2 red 10s. Under the gun 1 limps in front of us, and we raise it to 15. It folds to the button, who raises to 50, and small blind, whom we also have a lot of history with, just jams over the top for $270. As the count is happening, I see the button stacking his short stack of about $100 left, getting ready to jam it in, and at this point I verbally say, if you don't have aces already, I think the small blind is holding some of your outs. We jam all in too, as we're going to be ahead a fair amount of times here, and if we only win the side pot, we're still going to profit off of this hand. Let's just hope we have a small blind dominated, because as expected, the button insta jams and shows 2 red aces. Looking for some help, the flop comes 4, 3, jack, rainbow. The small blind shakes his head, and the turn is a 9 of clubs. He remains stoic, yet has some hope glistening over his eyes. But unfortunately for him and Mr. Aces, the river comes our bingo card, a 10 of clubs. I open up my set of 10s, and the small blind shows ace 5 suited. We hit our 2-outer to bring home the bacon in both pots for a solid amount of profit. While scooping up a very nice sized pot here and cracking aces, and another very marginal hand dodges the straight draw he flopped, and me being a total rookie, I completely forgot that I was filming and didn't bring up the camera to show this beautiful hand play out, or us raking in the chips. I will get better at this as the filming goes on, so please be patient with me, and if you have any other suggestions to improve on, please leave them below in the comments. To keep those episodes coming and to join me on my journey, I need you to smash that like button. It'll encourage me, and it'll also send good karma to keep up this run good. While your cursor is down there on the button, move it a few inches to also hit the subscribe so you can be all in with me. No, seriously, I need you to show some love and hit that subscribe button. Support your local vlogger and all that jazz. Next hand, and we're under the gun +1 and look down at ace jack offsuit, and we bump it up to $17. It folds around to the button, who jams for 131 over the top of that. This player would do this with a massive range if his stack gets below 100 and say maybe $150. I've seen him show up with everything from 9-10 suited to pocket 5s. Even with that being said, we make the call too quickly here. We should have slowed down and realized that this isn't the spot we came to get it ourselves into. We should have realized that there are way better spots to take advantage of here, but it's too late now and we're going to a flop, which comes king, jack, 8, rainbow. The turn is a 5, and the river is an inconsequential 2. I tell him he's good, and he opens his hand and shows us 2 ladies, which beats our jacks. We tell him good hand and watch our chips depart our side of the table right into his stack as we reflect into this rush hand, made a mistake, realized it, took a few Wim Hof breaths, and we slow down for the next one. A few hands later and we're in the cutoff. Middle position 1 raises to 15, middle position 2 calls, it folds to us, and we look down at pocket deuces. The middle position callers are very deep, as are we, so we call hoping to see a flop. Fortunately for us, the button 3 bets to $100. That's going to shut us down regardless of what the other players do. We just can't come along at that pricing, being that we're both dominated, and he only has another 200 behind on top of the domination. So we fold this one and live to see another flop. Now under the gun and looking down at ace-queen offsuit and make it $10 to go. We get 2 middle position callers, and the big blind makes it 115 to continue. I ask him to lift his hands up so I can see his stack size, and he is sitting only with 225 behind. So we have a quick and easy fold to keep the game moving. After everyone else folds, he tells me he had a high pocket pair. TJ, you got one through, good on you, sir. Here we're looking at under the gun, limping into the pot. We're next up, under the gun +1, looking down at king queen offsuit, and I make it 12 duckling. 5 people come along for the ride to see a flop of king 7-4. Being it's a rainbow board, I think it's a good spot to protect my checking range with top pair, and everyone else seems uninterested checking behind me as well. Turn is a 10 of clubs, and this time I shut down any more free cards with a bet of $25. Everyone folds besides the big blind who makes the call. The river is a 9 of hearts, and the big blind checks, and I decide to check behind as well. He flips over king jack, and I show him the bad news and flip over my king queen for the winner. Looking back, that river card was a perfect card to bet for thin value as we protected our checking range in the beginning. Something like $20 to $35 bet would have been perfect there. We're now seeing a lot of straddles on the table, anywhere from $5 to $10. We're in the hijack, and watching one limper in the middle position, we look down at 10 king offsuit, which given this table and post-flop tendencies by the opponents, I do find a call here. If we were at a tougher table, this would be a solid fold, being that we have a lot of action left behind us, but 3-bets are rare if they're not coming from me, so calling here with a marginal hand is not a situation where I'm always lighting money on fire. The cutoff and the button calls, so we're going to the flop 5 ways, which comes king 4-2 rainbow. It checked to me and I bet out $30 as a protection bet, the weak king. The cutoff and under the gun straddler surprisingly both call. The turn bringing a second deuce on board is not the card we hope to see, but we're not done firing yet. After it checks to me, I fire another barrel, this time for $65, and we get 2 snap folds to take down another nice little pot. We're now on the button and it folds to us as we look down at jack 4 of diamonds, and we raise it up to $15. We get instant calls from the small blind and the big blind, and we go to a flop of ace of diamonds, 2 of diamonds, and queen of clubs. Both of these players would be 3-betting ace queen. They're probably the only players at the table who would be doing that actually. Ace 2 is definitely in their calling range. But with the 2 diamonds on board, they would almost certainly be leading out with any 2 pairs here, or a small amount of the time check raising. So we put out a bet of $25 after it checks to us, and the small blind folds while the big blind tanks for a little bit before making the call. The turn card is the 10 of diamonds, completing our flush. He checks over to me and I bet $55, which is a little over half pot, and he makes a quick fold. Now we're in the cutoff holding 7-8 of clubs, and we watch the hijack raise it to $15. This is a good spot to occasionally 3-bet with some of our calling hands against this specific player who will open like this with a massive range. So we do decide to raise it, and we make it $50. Everyone folds around to the original raiser who does make the call. The flop comes out 10 of clubs, 3 of spades, and 9 of clubs, and he just instant jams for another $70. After seeing him have only $70 left, I immediately realized the 3-bet was in vain, as I didn't have enough implied odds to make the call in the first place, let alone put in a 3-bet. I just didn't see his stack size when I did that. That was a huge mistake on my part. But at this point, it's getting late, and I realize I need to clock out, but didn't have to make the call, so we make it anyways. Unfortunately, the board runs out and brings no good news, as the turn pairs the board with a 3, and the river brings in an ace of spades, and he shows 8-9 for 2 pairs, scoops up a nice little pot for himself. Nice hand, sir. Getting close to midnight, we find ourselves in middle position with a limping hand. Queen 10 offsuit, which again, at most tables, we wouldn't be limping much, if ever, but this is a good candidate given the circumstances. The player to my right immediately makes it $10. Button, small blind, big blind, under the gun, and myself all call, and it's 6 ways to the flop, which comes 10-6-3 rainbow. I check, and the original raiser makes it $55. It folds to me. And this seems like a super heavy bet, which makes me think he's trying to protect a smaller pocket pair, possibly a weaker overpair like jacks, or a vulnerable 10 like mine as well. I tank and am deciding between raising and calling for a bit before opting to just flat call here. The turn comes the queen of diamonds in all her beauty, And not allowing any free lunches, I lead out for $75, and he takes a few seconds before shaking his head and folding. And another nice small pot to add to the stack, slowly but surely, comes our way. Our next opening candidate is 10 Jack of Spades in the cutoff, and we make it 15 to go. The button and big blind both oblige, and the flop comes Ace, 5, Deuce with 2 clubs. Big blind checks, I check, and the button makes it 25. Big blind calls, and this is a spot where we just have to let this one go. The very next hand, we're dealt another suited connector in the hijack. This one is a tad lower, being a 6-7 of spades. It folds to us and we make it $7, and the cutoff bumps it up to 25. It folds back around to us and we make the call to see a flop of 10, 5, 3, rainbow. I check and he puts out a quick bet of $25. We think for a minute here before deciding this board is horrible for his 3-betting range and put in a raise to $80. He takes a few seconds before he folds, looks at me, and shakes his head once again. Literally the very next hand, we get dealt Queen Jack offsuit, and the player to my right opens to $10. Being that I will rarely face 3 bets, and I know this player to be very loose aggressive, I make the call, as do 4 other players. Flop comes a beautiful Queen of Diamonds, Jack of Spades, and 3 of Diamonds. It checks to us, and we throw out a half pot bet, $30. The player to my left has about $600 behind, and what does he decide to do with that $600 in the face of a $30 bet? He jams the whole damn thing in the middle. The pot is less than $100, and at this point, he just decides he has had enough of me and gets it all in there. I am stunned, and the only thing I can see him having here really is either a bottom set or a combo draw. I guess it's possible he has slow played an overpair, but he generally isn't the type to slow play big pocket pairs. We flip over our cards, exposing Queen Jack for top 2, and he doesn't move an inch. I'm in awe at this point, at this play, I guess, and can't get away from top 2 against this specific player. We make the call, and as we have him covered, the dealer counts the stack and announces we owe the pot $620 in total. After we move our $620 into the middle, he shakes his head and says, "You're good," but looks intently at the turn and river, which brings a scary 7 of diamonds to complete the flush draw and a 5 of clubs, which is just a brick. I ask if he hit his flush, and he shakes his head no and shows me Queen 3 for a flop top and bottom 2 pair. This was an absolute beautiful pot to win here just before winding down our session. We scoop in a profit about $700 in that specific hand and add it to the stack. Here we're in the cutoff, and Ace Jack finds us looking at a hijack raise of $15. This is the same guy who has been raising a super wide range, so we opt to 3-bet to 45, and it folds back around to him. He looks at his cards again and makes the call. Given that he is the only player at the table who would actually be 4-betting aces, kings, and ace-king, we're very close in range or marginally ahead. Flop comes Ace 7-9 rainbow. He checks to us and we throw out a value bet at $25, targeting weaker aces or middling pocket pairs that want to peel one more for a set line. But unfortunately for us, he's having none of it and folds his hand to give us another one. All right, so there you have it. That was my first poker vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, there's a lot of missed opportunity with filming, getting the camera up off the table, showing the cards. After the action's done, there's a couple big all-in hands there. I think I won every all-in hand except maybe one where the guy only had like $150 or $170 if I remember right. These intro and outro videos are being filmed long after the editing has started on this. It's been a long process getting this first one out, multiple editors and just learning a lot. But I've been having a lot of fun learning the audio software, the video software, kind of the structure of how to, take notes at the table so it coincides with the timestamps and stuff. But yeah, that session I was in for $300 and I was out for $1,497 in a little over 5.5 hours, which brings in an hourly rate of $217 some change. So it was a really good session. I will say that I do know these players quite well, and I have been playing low stakes poker for a long time. So while that's a huge hourly rate for 1-2, We will come in with some higher than average hourly rates for 1-2 just because of that experience and my understanding of my opponents here. I think I can edge out a little bit higher. So yeah, I'm really excited to show you guys what I have coming and what's in the mix for the queue for editing. And I hope to just kind of keep making improvements on the filming and the narration and just being more and more comfortable with the camera and behind the camera and everything else. And yeah, why don't you hit the like and subscribe button right now and join me on this journey? It's going to be a fun one. All right. Thanks, guys.